Okay, then, gents, let's focus on our next big segment preview, day 13 of the World Cup. This is the finale for the group stage. Would you believe it? Groups G and H are in action. The group stage finale for those guys, and then everything's wrapped up and put a nice bow on it, which is crazy. It's kind of a bit sad as well at the same time. This group stage has provided so much madness, but it's going to be over after these two groups are done and dusted. So just to remind you of the games coming up, obviously in Group H, we have South Korea against Portugal. Portugal already through. And Ghana against Uruguay. And pretty much South Korea need a bit of a miracle situation here to get through. But obviously Ghana and Uruguay, that is the game we're going to focus on. And we've been focused on this for a while, Nick Mendola, especially with the 2010 debacle, Luis Suarez going up in front of the press and then being asked by a Ghanaian journalist about, you do realize you are the devil, essentially, in Ghana. And he said, I didn't miss the penalty. I know I handballed it back in 2010 when Uruguay went through instead of Ghana late on in that historic World Cup in South Africa. He said, don't blame me. I didn't miss the penalty kick. I just gave a handball and gave my team a chance. And already so many narratives before this game even kicked off, before the press conference. And now going into it, Nick, who's the favourites here, Ghana or Uruguay?
Ghana, because they have the advantage going into it. That's the reason I would say it. But are they the favorite to get the result? No, listen, I don't remember how far, but I had Uruguay going pretty far. I think they're a sneaky good team that did not get a result they needed early. And like, to a certain extent, like Germany finds themselves under the gun. This is a brutal group. It's a really good group. There's not one of these teams. I mean, obviously, I'd pick South Korea as if you had to pick one team to face for the U.S., right? Like, I do think they are probably the fourth group of the but there's not a team in the group that you're excited about playing. And I think this group's been really fun. It's the rest of the group is probably the reason I now think Portugal can win the World Cup because they've dealt with this group the way that they have. I'm excited for this game. It's going to be monumental in terms of two teams that we already knew were fighters, two teams that were already either fun to watch because they can score or fun to watch because you don't know when someone's going to punch someone in the back of the head. I mean, these are physical, scrappy, and talented teams. And I think this is going to be, you know, that last fight in the Karate Kid or Rocky IV. This is going to be cinematic, a cinematic scrap.
Oh, I love that. That's a great term. I'm going to use that every day, I think, going forward in this World Cup. Yeah, when it comes to Ghana against Uruguay, right, they have so much history. Obviously, we mentioned it there, Andy, but Ghana have been just the team to watch in this tournament. 3-2 defeats, 3-2 wins. Are we going to see something similar here and just all-out attack? Because we haven't seen that from Uruguay so far, even though they have Cavani, Suarez, and obviously Darwin Núñez, and then they have great midfielders in Bentancur and Fede Valverde, but they just haven't got going, like Nick mentioned there, and didn't get that win early on against South Korea. And that really put them up against it. And Ghana, fair play to them. They made the squad late on, brought in a lot of players who they weren't sure were going to represent the Black Stars, but they have got a big, big chance here to go, you know, even maybe further than they went in 2010. So this has so many great storylines around it, this group stage finale game.
It does. And the fact that 12 years on, Luis Suarez still around, first of all, in the team to have this grudge match with Ghana at the World Cup is an underrated part of it that I think a lot of people are glossing over. And I will say this, I vehemently disagree with a lot of things that Luis Suarez has, one, done, and two, allegedly said during his playing career. But responding with, hey, I didn't miss the penalty, don't blame me, is an all-time response to a question like that when you have an entire country that feels the way they do, that Ghana does about someone being Luis Suarez. So he's comfortable, obviously, being the marked man, being the one with the target on his back. And I think Ghana came into this tournament without a ton of expectation because they don't have players at a ton of big clubs around Europe. And so there's just not a familiarity the way that there has been in past tournaments where you come in and go, okay, we know this is the guy, we know this is the setup and the structure around him. This is how that didn't really exist with Ghana at this tournament. And so they were a little bit of an unknown quantity, and they have been entertaining. I question whether they can defend though, against anyone. against absolutely anyone. I don't know that they can defend, and I think they will probably be the tonic that Uruguay have been looking for to get themselves going in front of goal as well. And so I think this is the start of a run for Uruguay.
Yeah, you both had them going pretty far in this tournament, right? So I'm gonna just your prediction. I'm assuming you both think the Uruguay are going to win and go through, right, Nick?
Yeah, you know what I'm going to say is Ghana is Canada with finish. That's what they've been in this tournament, and because of that, I think this will be a fun game. But I'm going to go Uruguay. You know what? Let's say it. Let's say 3-2. It'll be 3-1 late, but just to keep the string alive, 3-2.
Oh, I'd love that. And Luis Suarez to get the winner for Uruguay. That's
too much. Too much.
All right, too much narrative, too much storyline.
Nunez is due, I think. Nunez is due to have that moment. He's looked good. He just hasn't scored.
Absolutely. So head over to Pro Soccer Talk and NBCSports.com for all of the news ahead of this massive grudge game between Ghana and Uruguay. This is massive as both teams aim to get in the last 16. No love lost between these two nations after everything that happened in 2010. And as Andy mentioned, 12 years on, Luis Suarez is still there, still causing problems for Ghana even before the game kicks off. Let's see what he can do during the game, right? Because I cannot wait to see what kind of tricks he has up his sleeve, especially with Cavani and Nunez up top with him.
Hi there, I'm Rebecca Lowe, studio host for NBC's coverage of the Premier League. Don't forget to hit subscribe to watch more videos all season long. For even more Premier League content, from original series to live matches, head over to Peacock and be sure to tune in for Premier League mornings every weekend on USA Network and on Peacock. We will see you over there.